No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened.
Hey, what's going on, folks? So today we're going to cover Ghislaine Maxwell saying she thinks Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in prison, Damar Hamlin playing into the mystery, hiding his face and saying clone, standing next to a mural. After a lot of people noticed, you couldn't really see him at the game on Sunday. We'll talk about that. Gavin Newsom has some interesting thoughts on the Second Amendment.
I mean, the Second Amendment's becoming a suicide pact, it feels like. I mean, it's just, and that's the only question the community wants. How do you get what about?
And Justin Bieber sells 100% of his music to Blackstone-backed Hypnosis, who seems to be buying up a lot of music. It's gonna be a great show. Starts now.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. Sorry about the first one. I just didn't see it live on Facebook, so I wanted to make sure and didn't have technical difficulties. So we're going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell did some sort of interview from prison, and she's suggesting she thinks that Epstein was murdered. Second one is Damar Hamlin posted this on Twitter, and it says clone. And I don't know if you could see, but he's kind of hiding his face again. And he's playing into this mystery of everybody noticed at the game on Sunday you couldn't see his face. He's wearing sunglasses or some sort of goggles. Then he was wearing something over his face. He's ducking around the corner. They're showing the back of his head. They're showing him in the snow. And everybody's speculating. And then he just posts clone with a ninja emoji hiding his face. I wonder why he'd be doing that. Maybe he likes what's going on. Everyone has their theories. Third, I want to talk about Gavin Newsom basically crapping on the Second Amendment, for lack of a nicer thing to say. And then Justin Bieber sold his catalog to a Blackstone-backed music firm that's buying up a bunch of music. I think it's an interesting story. So first, let's listen to Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. Let's hear what she has to say.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. Because as far as I was concerned, he was going to, I was sure he was going to appeal. And I was sure that he was covered under the non-prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the indictment. So I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't even one of the co-conspirators.
So she says she's shocked. She thinks Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. And of course, the official narrative was something along the lines of, hey guys, you know, the biggest potential human child trafficking pimp slash blackmailer slash, you know, whatever everybody thinks about Jeffrey Epstein, like ringleader of some sort of huge corrupt child and sex trafficking ring. So many celebrities, millionaires, billionaires, etc., have been flying back and forth to his island, etc. You know, the official narrative was like, hey guys, we got him in like the highest security prison because he's the most high profile prisoner we have. But, you know, he just committed suicide and just the guards were like sleeping. And I think the cameras didn't work. And anybody with half a brain is like, well, that doesn't even happen at local 7-Elevens or most apartment complexes or pretty much anywhere ever in anything. Like, you just don't have cameras giving out and guards sleeping. It's very, very uncommon, especially when you consider that this is like a high profile prison where this stuff is likely to happen. So you would think that they have thousands of cameras, the most, you know, foolproof cameras on the planet, high paid guards that are paid more than like your average person who's just like guarding a nightclub or something. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being a bodyguard at a nightclub. I'm just saying this is like Jeffrey Epstein's cell. It's kind of a big deal. You should get the best people. And I guess that was just what they did. And then everybody in the world thought, well, I don't think he killed himself. I think, or, you know, someone killed him and murdered him to shut up the truth about what really happened in this child sex trafficking blackmail ring of sorts. And if that would have got out, it would have been damaging to a lot of people. And obviously all of this stuff they're talking about Biden with the classified documents and Mike Pence and Trump, and it's this big fake circus of Russia collusion, and oh my God, Trump's tax returns, and oh my God, Trump's going to save us, and oh my God, Trump, we hate Trump. There's this whole political circus going on the left and the right, and there were probably dozens, if not hundreds of people that were clients potentially of Jeffrey Epstein, but we don't have a single name other than Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein. I mean, the whole plot is pretty obvious, and I would say a majority of the world thinks that he was murdered to cover that up. Me personally, not to start a news theory, but my first thought was, I don't even know if he's dead. That's just my personal opinion, because it almost seems like, okay, he committed suicide. They said, everyone says he got killed. Both of those result in him being dead. All we got was some corny picture of him like on the ground, like you could barely see it, like his like head. That's all we really got. It's like, hey, we don't have any camera footage of it. The guards were sleeping, but we just want you to believe that he killed himself and or was murdered, and then go fight over that. I'm not saying that's true. I have no idea. That's just my personal opinion. When I heard the whole thing, it's like, where's the proof that he's even dead? If the camera's turned off, he could have just escaped out the back door and went to Antarctica with Tupac and Hitler. Isn't that where people go? They hang out in Antarctica. That's a joke, but you get what I'm saying. Me personally, I'm not even convinced that he's dead, but I'm sure he could have been murdered, obviously, to shut up the huge secret. That's not that surprising. Like, they probably don't care about Jeffrey Epstein that much. Like, you're too much risk alive. This is a possibility. There's a small possibility he killed himself, which pretty much no one believes, yet the mainstream media says that. Sure, anything's a possibility. I'm not acting like I have the answers and I know. That's just, as an American tax-paying citizen with a opinion, my first thought was, if there's no footage of that, how easy would it be for him to just, go off? And then I believe like certain finances were moving after his death or something out of his bank account to this or that. Obviously when you have hundreds of millions of dollars, someone's going to try to get that money, even if you are dead. So I have no idea. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Interesting that she's speaking out, and while she's alive, nobody knows more about what was going on with Epstein, probably, than Ghislaine Maxwell. So it would be nice if we got other names and kind of connected the dots here. Although even with this interview, that doesn't seem to be the case. There doesn't seem to be real progress in this department. And, everybody sees it. It's not just me. It's pretty obvious. So let me know what you think. That's my take, and interesting video, to say the least. So I covered Damar Hamlin on Sunday because I'm watching the game and it's snowing, and they're like, look at Damar Hamlin, look at Damar Hamlin. There's Damar Hamlin and his family, and all you could see was snow. And I just thought it was funny, and I'm not alone. The whole internet thought it was funny. Okay, and then they're showing pictures of him. His eyes are covered. His mouth is covered. I know camera angles pretty well. Like, I could watch a reality show or a movie, and I do film as well. I shoot music videos. I edit my own music videos. I pay attention to that maybe more than the average person, just because I'm interested in the art behind like how the angle looks and how to make good film. And I noticed when they did finally like show him, they showed the back of his head, then they showed the snow, then the back of his head, then the snow, then the side of his head. And if you zoom in, he had like some sort of face covering, and he has the same face covering here. I think it's kind of hard to see in this picture because of the ink, but they show his face and he's got some sort of like face mask on covering his mouth, and he wrote clone, okay, with a ninja emoji there. My personal take is, and I want to say this real quick, a Fox News or Fox 10 or I don't know, some sort of Fox Sports producer was like so mad that I was sharing the thread of Damar Hamlin and him covering his face up, like, how dare you, that's appalling. Listen, I want the guy to be successful and happy just like everybody else. It's such a beautiful story. All I'm saying is he's one of the most high-profile people in the country right now. He's got the interview that everybody wants to hear from. He's got the face that everybody wants to see, and he goes to the biggest Bills game of the year with his face covered and his eyes covered and his mouth covered, and he's running around the corner, and his mom and the kid or what. Like, it's an interesting story, and I'm a news reporter that doesn't work for the big corporations, so I don't have to choose it. I get to choose what inspires me. That inspired me, that he was covering. I just find it interesting the very next day, after they're basically trying to shut up that whole perspective of wondering why, he posts clone in parentheses next to a mural, and he's still got a face covering on. Why do you think he's covering his face? Obviously, many people have theories. I'll leave it for you to decide. Some people obviously think, what happened was a PR nightmare at the NFL, so they want to show him, yet they don't want to show his face. So, AP says he's on oxygen. It's a long road to recovery. I'm not really going to say too much because I don't want to speculate, but I do find it very bizarre all the way around. And, he could be saving his face or hiding his face for multiple reasons. That's his decision to make, and I respect it. However, he is posting this on social media and going in front of cameras at NFL games. So I feel like it's my right and everybody's right to talk about it. It's not like he's doing this in private and asking for privacy. He's posting on social media and showing up to games where there's cameras in his face. Let me know what you think. Could be a distraction. Probably. I'm just going to leave it at that. Let me know what you think. Here's Gavin Newsom talking about the Second Amendment after a pretty bad mass shooting in California. We'll talk about that in a second, too.
The Second Amendment's becoming a suicide pact, it feels like. It's just, and that's the only question the community wants. How do you get, what about our kids when they're going to school? What more can we do? And, again, we look at that all the time. We did another half dozen gun safety bills last year. We'll continue to find whatever loopholes we can. We'll continue to lead the national conversation on gun safety reform. And the data bears out it works. It saves lives. California's 37% lower gun death rate than the rest of the nation. And yet, with all that evidence, no one on the other side seems to give a damn. They can't get anything done in Congress.
So he said something along the lines of the Second Amendment is a suicide pact or something along those lines. So there's a mass shooting in, I think, Monterey Park. Some older Asian guy killed 10 people. Very bizarre. You don't really hear that much about it in the media. And I think it's because if there's not some sort of race baiting angle to it, nobody cares. Like when people are just gunning each other down in the streets of major cities every day, when that crime is black gangbanger versus like a random black kid or a black person, although it's sad and it should be reported equally, it's just not. People don't seem to care unless it's like a white cop or like a white kid. And, there's the victims. Like if there's no political angle to it, they just leave it. So you best believe if a white kid shot 10 black kids at a school or something, like that's not, you don't think that's going to be a massive news story? Of course it is. And it's sad because I think everything matters in general. But this one disappeared super quickly. Maybe it's because the country's getting numb to just this stuff happening. We have 300 something million people and tragedies are happening. He's trying to say it's a Second Amendment problem, even though California does have pretty strict gun control in terms of the rest of the country. One thing that they're obviously not looking at is the mental health of this country. Guns used to be easier to get. Kids used to shoot them out all the time, and you didn't have all these tragedies. I think it's a combo of multiple things. Personally, I think people's mental health is very low nowadays, and physical health for that record, but people are more depressed. There isn't a sense of community. People don't have that sense of family. And, the media is always telling us to hate our own country and, everything's so divisive, racially exact. So I think a lot of people are feeling unwell in this country. That's safe to say. There's a lot of depression, a lot of mental illness. Pharmacy pills are being pumped into the throats of people all the time. Instead of trying to find that problem at that root, it's just like pill, divisiveness, bad food, people are getting fat, pill. It's just a recipe for disaster. And then you have the lockdowns. Not that shootings didn't happen before, but now you're having the lockdowns and people are stuck inside. You have child abuse, domestic abuse cases rising because nobody has anywhere to go. They don't have a schedule, can't go to work. We psychologically got absolutely abused over the last couple of years, and our government takes no accountability. I'm not saying you have to justify bad things going on or justify obesity, but you're definitely help pushing it. And then they say, oh, get a surgery if you're 13 years old. The Pediatric American, some sort of society group, I don't know their name, is recommending surgery for 13-year-old obese kids. This country is culturally and medically and physically disgusting at this point, and people aren't really happy as much as they were. That does not justify doing what that person did or what anyone does, but you got to think about that, at some point instead of just taking the guns away. You have in England, I remember Tyson Fury, one of my favorite boxers, he's from England. His cousin died from a stabbing, and he's posting on Instagram, stop knife violence now, don't carry knives out. And the same thing you see with gun control in America is now happening with knives in England. And it sounds exactly the same, the exact same propaganda to take away knives and knife control. And it's like, listen, there were always knives in England. Everybody has knives to cut meat. You can't ban the knife, but they're trying to do the same thing in England that they're doing in America with the control of the weapon. And the truth is, the weapons have always existed for the most part. Something else is different. Culturally, something is different. Crime-wise, something is different. And the unfortunate truth is, it's not the knife or the gun. I understand why people might, not want people to carry them. I get it. I'm not somebody that wants anyone to get hurt, but it's just, it doesn't work that way. Gavin Newsom is obviously a known liar. And I think psychologically and culturally is the issue, as well as just like the quality of people. If you go to a town where nobody has wickedness in them, I'm not saying everybody's perfect, but like there isn't this violence problem, you could have 0 cops, okay? That's the truth. 0 cops, everyone can own a gun, and there's no murders, okay? You go to a bad neighborhood, doesn't matter if they have a knife, a gun, they make a shank. Like, bad people do bad things. And I'm not saying they don't have a path back to redemption or anything, or, but it's just like the quality of people is suffering. When the quality of people in your city is bad, you have a dangerous city. When the quality of the average person in your city is good, you have a good city. And it's not a numbers thing. A lot of people say, oh, well, Los Angeles is just so many people. I mean, we can't keep it clean and it can't be safe because there's too many people in certain cities. It's like, go to Tokyo. There's more people, or at least a comparable amount of people. I don't know the exact amount. It's cleaner. It's safer. You don't have this crime problem because the quality of people in Tokyo are better. They listen more and they're not murderers or psychopaths. There obviously is some crime, I'm sure, but not to the extent. It's not a people or a number problem. It's the quality of the person. And culturally, we're being absolutely bamboozled and brainwashed. And, there's a lot of demographic shifts going on in Europe and America as well. And with that comes different cultures and clashing. And when the media, instead of trying to work it out and be honest about everybody's culture, just basically just like divide and conquers like bumblebees, just, shakes everybody up. And then it's all a recipe for disaster. And of course, the politician does not want to solve the root level problem. That's not shocking. But, I pray for peace in this country, all over the world. It's not going to be with the guns. I mean, in Europe, they don't have the gun problem they have here. And you go follow somebody from Europe. Knife. The same, just replace the word gun with knife. They're complaining about the same stuff, the same rise of crime. It's just the truth. This story is the last one, or second to last one. It's interesting to me for multiple reasons. Justin Bieber just sold his music rights to Hypnosis Song Records for $200 million, $200 million. And he sold 100% of his rights. It's unclear whether his record label sold it as well. I'm guessing Hypnosis is going to own a huge chunk. His record label owns the chunk that they already owned. It's not like Justin Bieber owned 100% of his stuff, but 100% of whatever Justin Bieber owned is now in the hands of Hypnosis, who works very close with the private investment banking company Blackstone. Not BlackRock, but Blackstone. I don't know the connection, but similar name. So according to Variety, as expected, Justin Bieber has sold the rights to his music to a Blackstone-backed Hypnosis Song Capital for over $200 million, the company announced. The deal includes Bieber's shares of his publishing and record music catalog, which Bieber had master recordings and neighboring rights for the entire catalog, and publishing rights, comprising of over 290 titles released before December 31st, 2021. Sources tell Variety that Bieber's songs will continue to be administered by Universal Music, the singer's longtime home. His master recordings will continue to be owned by UMG in perpetuity. So whatever percentage he owned, I don't know if it was 10%, 20%, 50%, I have no idea what he owned, but he's selling all of his shares of his music to Hypnosis Records. Now they're partnered with Blackstone. I just want to read a little bit about Blackstone because it's interesting what's happening with the music industry. Blackstone is a private investment banking company or a investment management company based in New York City. Blackstone's private equity business has been one of the largest investors in leveraged buyouts in the last 3 decades, while its real estate business has actively acquired commercial real estate. CEO Stephen A. Schwartzman, founded by Schwartzman and Peter G. Peterson. I think that's funny, Peter Peterson. It's a cool name. Anyway, so why would a private investment banking company be getting into the music business and buying a bunch of music? Well, according to, and this isn't Blackstone, but I guess he partnered with Blackstone with Hypnosis. I think Hypnosis's founder, his name is Merck. He's got some Greek last name, or he's a Greek guy. Anyway, there's a lot of articles I've been reading about him, and he's saying, music is the new oil and gold, and, we're treating it as a huge investment. If we own music over the next 100 years, that's very valuable. And it's true. I mean, it's business-wise, it makes a lot of sense. And that's what these private investment banking companies merging with record industry are doing, is just they're going out there and buying people's entire catalog so they own it for eternity, I guess. When Neil Young was in the news, if you guys remember Neil Young saying, I'm going to take my music off of Joe Rogan, or if Joe Rogan doesn't shut up about alternative medications, I'll take all my music off of Spotify. Ooh, I like Neil Young, but shut up, dude. Anyway, Neil Young also inked a deal with Hypnosis Song Records prior to him saying that, and he didn't even own all his music anyway. He sold a lot of it to Hypnosis, I think $100 million deal, and he's got even more music than Justin Bieber, I think over like 1,000 songs or something, but he already didn't even own that much of his music. So I see a few things here happening. One, and I thought about it, this already could happen, because if you're like Universal owns a big portion of everybody's music, Sony owns a big portion of everybody's music, I don't know all the record labels, but there's like 3 or 4 that own pretty much everything. And then there's a small group, Hypnosis is growing because they're buying catalogs. They could already kind of throw their weight around if they want to. I just want to show you real quick, because I get the Billboard magazine, and I like the information in it. I probably shouldn't support them, but they do have some good articles. Every cover is propaganda. Here's one that's just laying around my house. I just thought it was funny, so I'll show it up. Look at the voter guide. Here's how we should vote for the Grammys from Trevor Noah, because I need to listen to Trevor Noah. That's who I want to listen to. The other one, it's MGK in a dress. It's Stephen Lacey in a dress, this new artist. It's, Post Malone in a skirt. It's like within the last year, 3 of the covers have been men wearing dresses and skirts. If it was once in a while, it's like, yeah, it's the music industry. Everybody acts a little quirky, but the agenda is so overt. They got a fist on one. They're pushing votes. Like the left-wing social activist / feminism, feminizing of men agenda is so overt and obvious. It's like just reading this, like the propaganda is so extreme, it's just like in your face. Make it a little sneakier so people are like more into it. But anyway, they own so much real estate, so they could already pretty much shift society based on the messages that they're sending in their music. And if you have a great message, or you want to maybe be conservative, maybe you want to vote for like Trump or DeSantis, and you want to like use your platform like Taylor Swift to be like, hey, I'm voting for Trump, like Kanye did, or hey, I'm voting for, hey, I'm voting for, I want to vote for Republicans in this midterm. Do they want you to do that? So they already kind of, in my opinion, control society. But now with all of this new, like controlling all the masters, etc., you could have entire industries and basically private investment banking companies owning a massive real estate in the music industry and saying, now if we want to pressure Joe Rogan from shutting up, or whoever's talking too much on Spotify and hosting doctors that aren't Dr. Fauci, well, it's not just Neil Young's music we're going to pull off. We're going to take our 30% or 20%, or, we have 1 million songs. We have $10 billion worth of revenue coming every year. We're going to leverage that to shut you up even more. So I see that kind of as the direction. They're owning, just like if you own a lot of real estate, you own a lot of stuff, you get to kind of influence decisions and have a bigger say than the average voter. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes in the music industry, with basically banking companies buying massive chunks of real estate. But like I said, they already can pretty much do that just with the record labels, because the record labels own a lot. 2 things I want to say. First of all, I have a song coming out on Friday at like 12 o'clock midnight. It's called Thought Leader. I haven't, but I'll probably post in the description the link. me and Bryson last year, we hit #2 on the Billboard charts for a week, only a week, but still pretty cool. #2 for most sold rap song in digital sales out of every rap song in the world. That was pretty cool. I would like to get another Billboard plaque and a Billboard thing. So if people support, it's just cool to send a message to the music industry, even though we don't have banking investment firms behind us and record labels, to compete with these people and show them that there's still a lot of people out there that want a real message. This is my best lyrics in a while. Thought Leader, I'll post the link after. Thanks to everybody pre-ordering on iTunes and Amazon. I appreciate it. I would really love to chart and just send a message to the music industry. Also, I wanted to just wrap it up with Justin Bieber and the $200 million. Is that a good deal? Here's my opinion. I mean, $200 million, it's like you can't really lose with that much money. You know, yeah, it's nice to own your music. Obviously, he probably could have made more than that over the next 30, 40 years with all that music. But who can really complain? And, you know, here's $200 million. We take all your music. You can go do whatever you want. He could make a movie. He can make new music and own his new music. It's not a bad deal. I mean, I think they bought it for a reason. They'll probably make more money off it because now they get all the royalties from whatever percentage they bought. They get, if it goes in a movie or, you know, all the money that he would have got from all those songs over the next 50 years, they're going to get. I think they'll recoup and then make some money, but I see the both sides. It's like if you're a music artist, you know, it takes a while to get that money and, you know, it might not be the path you want to do. Maybe you just want to be rich forever. As somebody that doesn't have near that much money or even close to it, you know, as a person that's not greedy and I don't need to buy a bunch of watches or Corvettes all the time, it's like at a certain point, you make a certain amount of money, a couple million, you have a good income, whatever, you could pretty much do whatever you want in this world. Look how much a flight costs, look how much a hotel costs, how much does your rent cost, how much do your taxes cost, how much does your family cost? Do the math. I mean, it doesn't, if you got $20 million in the bank or $10 million in the bank, you could pretty much coast for the rest of your life as long as you have a little bit of income coming in. So for people that are like, I get both sides of it. Yeah, you should keep your money, own your music, sure. But if you're Justin Bieber, you don't really care that much. I mean, 200 million, you're rich forever. You could do pretty much whatever you want, buy all the stupid cars you want, buy all the things, give everybody in your life what you love for that amount of money. That's fine. And I personally, I don't dislike Justin Bieber, but I don't see him as somebody that's like making music that he really cares that much about. Like, I'm not saying he doesn't care about it, but you get what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, I need to really own this stuff. He was like 15 years old and they're like, baby, baby. And then he did some cool EDM songs and, you know, he's done some newer cool stuff with rappers. I don't think it's that close to his heart and soul where he really needs to collect royalties on that and see where the things go. It's like, whatever, you know, get rid of it. I don't know. I own 100% of my music, but I'm not Justin Bieber, so no one really cares. You know, they're not offering me any contracts. But, you know, I don't see it as selling out personally. Like, if you want to sell your music, sell your music. You get the money and you get to do whatever else you want. He could do 5 albums from here, deep to his heart and soul, say the realest stuff he wants, and he would own those albums based on that. Not a bad deal. Let me know what you guys think. I want to play this clip real quick, then I'm going to read your comments. I made an Instagram reel this morning to talk about a little bit of what I talked about yesterday, but I'll just show you, and then we'll talk about whatever you guys want to for a little. So one of the FBI officials that was supposed to look for Trump-Russia collusion apparently is getting charged for money laundering and tax evasion for in some way illegally working with a Russian oligarch to avoid sanctions. Yikes. And after making a stink about President Trump taking classified documents, the FBI quietly walked into Joe Biden's house and found more classified documents from the classified documents they already found. Apparently Mike Pence today turned in his own classified documents. I guess people are just taking them like White House souvenirs. So besides the obvious hypocrisy and double standards, are people starting to feel like this is a giant distraction? Do you notice the cities in America getting worse and worse and worse? Obviously the price of groceries are going up. Team Blue fights Team Red. You watch CNN and MSNBC and it's like a fake story where they're gonna get Trump every day. Oh, we're gonna find the Russia collusion. Oh, wait, we did it. Oh, we're gonna find the classified. Oh, wait, we did it. And it never happens because it seems like a big distraction. It's like a fake Marvel movie where the left thinks Donald Trump is the villain and they're wasting their time and letting their country disintegrate, and a lot on the right think Donald Trump's the hero, even though he took all the corporate bribes for his inauguration, $1 million from Pfizer, hired a bunch of pharmacy lobbyists, hangs out with rhinos like Lindsey Graham, and still runs around the country acting like Martha Stewart, selling big pharma COVID vaccines. Are people gonna wake up soon, or is this gonna go on for the next decade? Let me know what you think. God bless you. Thanks for hanging out. So I guess this morning they caught Mike Pence with classified documents, or he caught himself and he, reported them. Is it like a souvenir? Everybody just takes classified documents like it's not a huge deal now because now Biden and Pence did it. To me, it's a big distraction. It's like Russia collusion. The left blames the right and the right defends themselves, and they do nothing. They have all three branches of government, or they have the House, the Senate, the presidency. We do nothing for 2 years. Then the Democrats are in, and then it's like this big game, and I just see like the left wing doesn't even seem to care about anything anymore. Like Joe Biden's a total sellout. He's definitely a controllable politician. He's not an outsider. He's been a politician and a liar his whole life. Yet for some reason, the Democratic Party has weeded itself of the people who care about that stuff, and it's all about anti-Trump. The left doesn't seem to care about anything. And the people that do, like Jimmy Dore, probably have more right-wing fans than left-wing fans at this point, because if you're an honest progressive that's awake, you might as well just vote Republican, in my opinion. But whatever, fight the left, whatever. But the Democratic Party is just like so brainwashed because they just hate Donald Trump that they're not questioning Joe. Like, besides Jimmy Dore and a few others, who's questioning Joe Biden? Who's looking into his ties to Big Pharma? Who's looking into his lobbying ties? Who's looking into his war agenda? Not the Rob Reiner Democrats, as I call them, the ones who just sit and watch CNN. Like, the left wing is useless. Like, Jimmy Dore would have more success pushing his agenda if he registered as a Republican. It's just the truth. With that being said, on the right, it's like that's the left's carrot on a stick, which is like you keep going, but there's someone on your back with a carrot stick, right? You just keep going. It's Lucy with the football. It never happens, and you don't get the trick. The left's carrot on the stick is Donald Trump bad, Republicans bad, we're fighting bad guys. That's their carrot on the stick. They never get there because it's all fake. Then you go to the right wing. In my opinion, the carrot on the stick for Republicans is Donald Trump. He didn't do it in 4 years. He surrounded himself by swampers. He took all the corporate money. He's hanging out with Lindsey Graham. He's a total rhino. He's not who he said he was. It's so obvious, but let's just wait because he's going to do it this time, even though he didn't, and he doesn't care, and he keeps lying, and nobody wants to call him out. So that's the right wing's carrot on a stick. And I see both as like, it's this controlled arena circus, like Trump versus Biden. They're both 80 years old. They're both taking the corporate money. They're both working for Big Pharma. Trump's a little bit more real, but he's really faker than he used to be. But nobody wants to talk about it because the left just wants to beat Trump, and the right just wants to trust Trump, and the right just wants to beat Biden, and the left just wants... It's so obvious at this point. It's not like 2018 or 2019 where there might be something. Like, it's so obvious. So let me know what you think. To me, I hope people wake up and kind of dive deeper where the left and the right both question a little more, but who knows? Someone said to me, and this is a common complaint I get, I don't care, I just thought it was funny. So, I reported on this stuff. Oh, Anomaly, all you do is complain. Why don't you run for office? Well, I'm not a politician. I'm doing news analysis and journalism, okay? So there is a place for news analysis and journalism. They're supposed to hold politicians accountable. And you got people getting mad at me for being one of the only people on the right doing news analysis and journalism against not just the left, but also the right. And now it's like, oh, you're just complaining. I'm not complaining. I'm doing journalism. But my journalism bothers you when your guy is in on it too. Back in the day, that's journalism. The left's getting lobbied by Big Pharma and big corporations. The right's getting lobbied by Big Pharma and big corporations. That's journalism. Oh, just run for office. I'm not a politician. Journalists and news analysts are supposed to hold politicians accountable and call out lobbying. But if I call out lobbying against Joe Biden, the left doesn't want to hear it because they just hate Donald Trump. If I call out lobbying with Trump, the right doesn't want to hear it because they just want to fight Biden. It's like it's been 10 years and we're actually devolving. We're getting dumber and worse and fatter and more addicted to pills, and people are force masking their children. Like, we're devolving. We're not getting... And then you learn about history and they're like, look how bad it was. It's like, if you look at certain statistics in the black community, even though they're brainwashing all people in this country, they owned more farms years ago. They owned more certain investment stuff. It's like, if it was so bad, why did they own more stuff? Why were their families together more? Something you're not... Why is Booker T. Washington smarter than any of my teachers in school? He's literally smarter than any white teacher I've ever had. Why? Something's not adding up. Why is George Washington smarter than George Bush? Why is Thomas Edison way smarter than Joe Biden? Why is, why are the founding fathers more wise than any president we've had? So something's not really adding up. It's like, history bad, come follow these pharmacy lobbyist politicians that that are 80 years old. And people are like, yeah, racism, Black Lives Matter, history's bad. Like, something's not adding up here, okay? Because the more you read, you're like, these people are not dumb. And they didn't own nothing. And they didn't have zero freedom or, discipline. So let me know what you guys think. That's enough of mine. Someone said, yay for president, Roseanne for vice president, anomaly for House Speaker. That would definitely shake things up. But I don't want to. That's funny, though. Someone said it is true about people getting fatter. I love America. I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like our country's getting fatter. Our country's getting more addicted to pills. Our country's getting more depressed. Our families are splitting up more. People are doing worse in certain cases in many categories. Our schooling system's going in the tubes. We went from number 1 and we're not even top 10 in a lot of categories. Oh, but it's better now because Patrisse Cullors is on stage collecting money. It's better now because history is so bad. If it's better now, why are we doing worse in like 9 out of 10 categories? Why are our cities getting worse? This country is becoming like a devil vortex. And it's like, if we really want to help the rest of the world and help Ukraine and help the Middle East, we have to help ourselves. We're embarrassing ourselves. How are we going to run around building schools in Afghanistan when our schools aren't even good? Back in the day, it used to be like, we are number 1 in schools. Let's go build schools in Afghanistan. And it kind of made sense, even though they were lying. It's like, oh no, that makes sense. We're way better at schools than Afghanistan, and we probably still are. But on a world scale, America's not number 1 in math. They're not number 1 in, I don't know, anything anymore. You look at some of the scoring in America, it's egregious compared to the rest of the free world. So it's like, we're in no moral position anymore to run around the world and help everybody else. We have to help ourselves. You look at an airport in Singapore, it's beautiful. You look at an airport in Washington, it's disgusting. I mean, Washington Dulles Airport, when I flew in to go on a podcast, it's one of the worst airports I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible. I'm not complaining. It is what it is. But it's like, you go around the world, they actually care. They care about stuff. They build. They create. What do we build in America? We don't build anything. We build a George Floyd or MLK statue that looks like a schlong, from the back. Like, everybody knows it. Everybody was commenting on, like, the country's a mess. And I'm not complaining in the sense of like, I love America. It's just like ridiculous. I shared a meme on Facebook, for those who follow me on Facebook, where it had Ukraine in the middle, and it had like, America, Europe, EU, NATO, like UK, and they all have their hands on Ukraine, like, and they're NPCs, and they're like, you're going to be like us soon. And then the second one, it got more clear, and the people with the hands on them were like Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Yemen, and Ukraine's in the middle, like, oh no, like, where it's like, yeah, what, you can be one of us, people accuse you in Ukraine. If you disagree with the Ukraine narrative, they're like, why do you hate Ukraine? Why are you Russia? I don't hate Russia or Ukraine. I want Ukrainians and Russians. I don't look at the world, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, anywhere, Middle East. I don't look like, I hate those people. I have no hate in my heart. And it's funny, the people that would say, Anamu's anti-Semitic because he says he doesn't want speech laws in America. Yeah, like every American should, if you actually like this country and have loyalty here. But in general, I don't hate the people of Israel or Palestine. I don't hate the people of Russia. I don't like half the Daily Wire staff hate Iran. Obviously Iran's government doesn't like us, but there's a lot of great people in Iran. I love the people of the world. I'm not someone who's a bigot, and I'm not using that word loosely. It's just like, I literally don't hate people of any culture, because I understand, and I've met enough people to know, there's great people that are everything. Christian, Muslim, Jewish, white, black. There's great people everywhere. So why would I hate Russians just because the media tell me to hate Russians? And why would I hate Ukraine just because Zelensky's a sellout loser? I don't want Ukrainians to get hurt, and I don't want Russians to get hurt. With that being said, the people that are helping Ukraine are hurting Ukraine. What if Ukraine ends up like Libya? What if they end up a power vacuum where it's not safe anymore? The country's in shambles. They don't have fair elections. They get arrested for, criticizing LGBTQ plus hate speech under Zelensky's new liberal gay world order. That's good for Ukraine, going from a Christian nation to a rainbow painted, nation without free elections, and potentially, stuck in a 20-year war that could have been mediated at a certain point. I don't hate Ukrainians and I don't hate Russians, but it's like the people helping Ukraine better, think twice, because helping Ukraine might look a lot like helping Libya, which ended up in trafficking and slavery, and helping Yemen and bombing them, and helping, Iraq and Afghanistan, giving them a bunch of weapons and then ending up in the hands of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Like, that's not, I'm not saying we've never done anything good. I love America, but, it's like you disagree with the Ukraine narrative, and you must love Russia and hate Ukraine. You can't make me hate anybody, okay? You can't tell me, oh, the people of Iran are bad because the government's bad. I don't believe it. You can't tell me, oh, Palestinians are bad because I don't believe it. Oh, well, all Israelis feel this. I don't believe it. I think there's good people everywhere. And no one can make me like or hate somebody more or less. And my beef with Israel is not even necessarily with Israel as much as it is American politicians. Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Republicans, most of them are passing speech laws in America that go against the Constitution. And the reason they're doing it is not because they love Israel. It's because they get paid by Jewish donors who favor Israel over America, and then pass a speech law that says you can't say it. That's against the Constitution. That's why they're doing it. Not because they woke up and love Jews so much. They don't give a crap. Who was out there speaking when Israel was under a Pfizer experiment where everybody's getting kicked out of restaurants and stuff? Where were all the Zionist warmongering neocons? Where were they to stand up for the Israeli citizens? Let me get nowhere for 500, Alex. Do you know why? When I talk about Israel, it's not for a donor meeting. I'm not at some Star of David donor conference where a bunch of Jewish people are throwing money at me like Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump and DeSantis. I'm doing it because I really feel that way. So if I stand up for Israel or I have a criticism of American politics, I'm not doing it for any other reason, because it's how I feel. These people, they go on a stage with the Star of David behind them. Oh, I love Israel. You can't be a Christian if you don't get on your knees for Israel. And they're just sucking up donor money. But then these same people who suck up, Zionist donor money are the same people sucking up big pharma donor money. So then when Israel's being basically held against their will under a vaccine experiment for Pfizer because their own government sold them out, now all of a sudden these Zionist donor sucking warmongers are nowhere to be found. Did Mike Pompeo get up in Israel and make this massive speech about how he was against mandates? Maybe I missed it, but maybe he didn't. Maybe just like they all didn't, So it's like, I don't care what people say about me because I don't hate people. I don't think there's bad people everywhere. It's just, I know American Republicans are selling the country out for their donor class and passing speech laws. And the reason that PragerU and all the Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire and, Steven Crowder, Mr. I don't care about money. Yeah, sure, Steven. Whatever. I'm sure people believe you. That's great. Yeah, they never want to talk about this topic for some reason. I've already told people the reason. Behind closed doors, everyone knows. Everyone knows. They know exactly what I know. They just don't want to say it publicly because they're afraid they're going to lose their contract for that reason. Not because Steven Crowder didn't, get the terms he wanted. That's the fake, circus for him to try to siphon subscribers from Daily Wire to his own thing. And also he said on Tim Pool last night, they're like, you should run your own thing. He's like, oh, I don't want to. He's like, I don't even know how much my production is. He doesn't want to do what he's saying. He wants to get a deal so some big corporation, some big con corporation can pay him like they always have, so he doesn't actually have to run his own full business without another business behind it. But that's a side topic. I don't even feel like talking about that anymore. I'm just being honest. Nobody in conservative media wants to talk about that topic because they know that's the big con. That's what's going to get their money pulled. That's what's going to get them disinvited to places. That's what's going to get them blacklisted. Not a bad contract Steven Crowder got from Daily Wire. It's the topic of the speech laws that Trump, DeSantis, and Republicans are passing on behalf of their blank donors for a foreign country that stops you from basically even talking about it. And people like Epstein and Maxwell, because of their heritage, would get protections under this law. Not your friend. That's who these laws are for, in my opinion. Yeah, I think I'm done talking about the Crowder Daily Wire thing. I saw him on Tim Pool. I'll say this, though, real quick. And I want a journalist to do this. Just like I want a journalist to ask. Tomorrow, I'm debating / interviewing / having a friendly conversation with David Harris, a big Trump supporter, friends with Trump. He's going to be on my show tomorrow. I'm excited about that. We're going to talk about this stuff. But just like I want someone like David Harris to ask Donald Trump if he's friends with Bill Gates, Just ask him, right? The only way we'll know, ask Trump in an interview, are you friends with Bill Gates? Do you work with Bill Gates? I think he'll say yes, or he won't be able to answer. That's what I think. But people say, oh, normally you're wrong. Okay, then ask him. All I want is a journalist to do journalism. That's all. Same thing with Steven Crowder. The question that Tim Pool didn't ask, he basically just wiped Crowder's butt for 2 hours for the most part. The question everybody wants to know is, Owen Benjamin has been alleging for a long time, and he's said it again after all this, that Steven Crowder's not a good boss, that Steven Crowder signs not only his people to NDAs, which he admitted on Tim Pool and then skirted around it, but also, this is Owen Benjamin has said that his former employees, some of them are under non-competition contracts where they actually can't even go work. So, there's stories and rumors that Not Gay Jared went to go work somewhere else and can't work because Crowder has him under some sort of non-competition contract where he can't even get another job in certain comedy because of the contract Crowder signed him under. So that's the journalistic question. I'm not saying it's true. The only way we'll ever know is if a journalist asks Crowder this, because he's talking about what a great boss he is and what a great person he is, how he wants to run a company. But he might be a worse boss than Daily Wire. He might be a bigger tyrant than them and just role-playing like hero for his own financial gain. And I think that's what he's doing. And I don't even like Shapiro or Daily Wire. But when you listen to him, they said, oh, you should start your own company. On Tim Pool, he's like, well, I got to talk to my lawyer because we don't even know how much my production costs. I have to ask this guy or whoever his sidekick was on Tim Pool. And he admitted he doesn't even want to. So he's like, we need to do a new business. I run a business. I know a better business model. Okay, then run your business. Oh, I don't want to. I want Big Con to back me and pay me like they always has. He wants Blaze or CRTV or PJ Media. He's always been backed by Big Con, big conservative media. So he's on Tim saying, I have the future. I want to sign a bunch of kids and pave the way for a real corporation to do it right. So do it then, right? Okay, I agree. You could do it better than Daily Wire. Do it. Oh, no, I don't want to. I'm just basically pretending like I wanted to pitch a deal so Big Con can come in and offer me a bigger contract. It's so obvious. And then he was asked, you say you want to help the kids and launch these careers. Name one. That was a question on Tim Pool. Name one person you've launched. And they mentioned Sven Computer and Not Gay Jared, like they disappeared. And he didn't even answer. He couldn't even name one person that he's helped because he was like, oh, no, Not Gay Jared, they just left, whatever. Okay, name one person that you've helped. I get it. Daily Wire's bad. Okay, who have you helped? What are you doing? He wants to field a contract for himself. That's fine. It's just like so obvious to me. Someone said, who has a more obnoxious voice, Shapiro or Crowder? Probably Shapiro. Honestly, Crowder's just more of like, I think Shapiro. He'll be like, listen. I didn't want to put a sheet over the contract. Speaking of sheets, I sell sheets. Okay, you can buy sheets. What do you want? What do you want us to lay down? Lay down for you, Crowder? Listen, speaking of laying down, I do sell mattresses as well. We sell the best mattresses. Oh, and under your mattress, you'd hide gold. Okay, we also sell gold. Okay, but speaking of Crowder, we sell clam chowder too. We sell gold flake clam chowder. It's like, I don't know. I think Shapiro has a little bit more of an annoying voice to me, but to each their own. Everybody has different vibes affect different tribes or whatever. Attract, your vibe attracts your tribe. Someone said, I like them all a little until they diss Ye. Yeah, I saw Crowder dissing Ye and I saw Shapiro dissing Ye. And that's this is the real big con that Crowder's been basically working for and not really speaking that much out against. I've heard him say a few things, but the big con is if you call out in any form, in my opinion, the Israeli speech laws, then all of a sudden they blacklist you. Even if you're not going as hard as Ye, they blacklist you. Ben does not want to face the fact that he supports laws in America that stop you from boycotting, protesting, criticizing, or connecting dots with anything that has to do with his ethnicity and his religion. That's the truth. So if you see 7 Saudi Arabian guys do something and say Allah, you're like, oh, maybe they're working for Saudi Arabia. Maybe they're not though. And maybe it has something to do with Muslim, but maybe not. You have the right to do that in America, but if you see 7 people basically pass speech laws against your constitution, you can't say that they're even doing it because they just passed a law saying now that's illegal and you can't even notice that it's happening. So, I'm not a fan of Shapiro for that reason. I'm going to make a whole video about that soon and make it pretty brief. Like, here's why I don't like Ben Shapiro. And I'm going to keep it simple. It's not going to be personal attacks or things. It's going to be strictly policy and things that I feel like he's being dishonest about. But, we'll get that in the future. Let me read a few comments real quick. And by the way, I did a secret podcast for Facebook subscribers and Patreon. If you're a Facebook subscriber, I'm going to post it today. If you're on Patreon, I already posted it, a private link. Me and Clint from Liberty Lockdown did an hour behind the paywall about a few different topics that we didn't do publicly. So thank you to everybody supporting there. If you're on Patreon, I have at least 6 episodes, secret episodes that you can't find anywhere else. If you're on Facebook, I have 2 episodes posted, but also I've done live streams throughout the year. I've done probably over a dozen secret live streams with Facebook. So thank you everybody on Facebook and Patreon for subscribing. I appreciate it. Someone said most famous conservatives are scared to stir the pot. Look at Alex Jones. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody's got, I think, some sort of limit of what they do and don't want to say. And, to me, that's the big thing on YouTube too. It's like, Crowder will say, hey, I'm not going to say that on YouTube. Come behind the paywall. And Daily Wire does that. And everybody takes calculated risks of like, should I say that on YouTube or should I put that on Rumble? Should I say that on YouTube or should I put it behind the paywall? Should I say it on Patreon or Locals? Everybody plays that game and everybody takes a financial loss. If your Facebook or your YouTube goes down and you don't have a big corporation, you take the financial loss. So this was the point I was trying to make with Crowder. He's never worked, in my view, outside in the last at least 5, 6, 7 years, he's never worked outside of a big con major corporation. So it's almost like he doesn't even know, if he doesn't have a big corporation backing him, that without that little clause in the contract, he'll have to take the financial loss himself. But on Tim Pool, he even admitted when they said you should go start your own, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to work by himself. He doesn't want to be independent. He doesn't want to run his own corporation without a bigger corporation behind him. He wants his butt wiped by Big Con. He doesn't, so it's like there's people that are going to lose more than 20% if their YouTube channel goes down. So to every extent, everybody plays some sort of game with how they want to say certain things or what they want to say. Everyone has their own filter or own strategy of how to post on social media and how to, like, if you're going to do a documentary that's going against all childhood vaccines, like Candace Owens did, for example, you're not going to put that on YouTube. You're just not, that's getting taken down. Facebook's taking that down. Instagram's taking that down. So you put it behind a paywall or you put it, that doesn't mean you are working for big tech. I just think it means you're being smart, knowing that these platforms are actually not that free. But just like Crowder posts on YouTube, why does he post on YouTube? It's so bad. Why do people who hate YouTube spend tens of thousands of dollars of ads on YouTube? I'm not saying he does, but other people do. It's because you're trying to figure out, I want to take power away from them, but I can't afford to just stop using them all because they got billions of people using it. So everyone plays some sort of game of figuring out how to wean themselves off of, the big social medias onto like smaller ones. But someone said, Anomaly, talk about the funders of Daily Wire, PragerU, and Turning Point USA. Well, I can only assume who's funding Daily Wire, who started it, but I don't know enough about it to speak on it. Prager, I don't know who's funding it, but I know the CEO, Marissa, was like an ex-Israeli military intelligence agent or something of some sort. I mean, it's literally like in her bio. As far as Turning Point, I think they're not a business. They're like some sort of, I don't want to say nonprofit or, like Daily Wire is a business, a for-profit business. TPUSA is like I don't know the name of it, but basically they're not a business. They're like some sort of nonprofit. So, where are they getting their money from? I like to be accurate and I don't know exactly who, but I see that between Prager, TPUSA, and Daily Wire, although they do a lot of great work and events, etc., there's certain topics they don't talk about and they will not call out the speech laws that Republicans are passing. So it leads me to believe either they support them or they're being backed by people who don't want them to speak out about it. Everyone knows about this stuff. If the left wing passed BLM speech laws that now said 30 things that you say about black people or BLM or leftists or, you know, this is now hate speech. You can't talk about crime rates. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. Not only will you get called a racist, but it's actually a racist hate speech law now. Could you imagine that? A BLM package that Democrats were passing, that now if you mention certain crime statistics or certain, like talked about Marxism, now it's a anti-black hate speech law and it could be penalized and you can't protest or boycott them on a college campus. Could you imagine how loud Ben Shapiro would be and Charlie Kirk? This would be the number one talking point. But when the Republicans do the same thing under anti-Semitism and protect Jewish oligarchs, now all of a sudden, nobody wants to talk about it. Isn't that weird? Republicans are passing anti-First Amendment speech laws and not a single person in these big conservative media will talk about it. Yet they all know it. Either they completely support these laws or they're afraid to lose their job. That's the big con. That's the big secret. That's the elephant in the room. That's what they don't want you to talk about. Not what Steven Crowder's doing, trying to siphon off subscribers and role play, you know, savior when he's really no different. This is my take. Let me see. Someone said, I'm a diehard Crowder fan. To keep harping on Crowder is a bad look for Anomaly, and I adore Anomaly. Well, I'm not going to talk about it much anymore, but as far as, you know, you being a fan of him, that's my take. You don't have to agree with it. I'm not saying he's never done any good content or anything like that, so it's all good. All right. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. But I'm getting sick of talking about it too. Because he was on Tim Pool yesterday, I kind of just wanted to weigh in on it a little bit, but I'm getting tired of talking about it too. As far as between them, you know, it's gotten really personal. So I think as far as me, they can duke it out and have their disagreements, but it's not really gonna help me any. You know, it's not like it's really my battle. So I'm tired of it too, and I probably won't mention it from here on out. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be back very shortly. And after this show, I'm gonna post in the description my link to my new song. It's gonna be out on Friday. So thank you guys for supporting. Thanks for listening.